talk about this all the time is, you had this issue and you thought there has to be other people out there, but you kind of went out on a limb to say, I don't know how many there will be or if this will even work. And I mean, you got the tubes and you started doing all of this stuff. Talk a little bit about that process that you go through. You're in school, you're trying to do all this kind of stuff, and all of a sudden you have this idea that you want to bring it forward. Talk about that process a little bit, because there's probably people out there that are thinking these same things and say, I don't really have the time. You made the time to do this, so talk a little bit about that.
I think it really helps if you find something that you're really passionate about. And like I said, I will always make this for myself, even if, my business doesn't eventually get super big. So I knew that it was something that I at least wanted to do for myself, and I wanted to help those people because I know what those struggles are like. And I think that passion drove my, the speed at which I got things done. And it's also really important to find a strong support system. I have a very strong support system that has encouraged me and helped me every step of the way. And I asked a lot of questions because I had no idea how you even go about starting a business. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I want to do this. I have no idea what to do. And so I think it's really important to do the not fun research just to kind of see what you're looking at and then find those people who are going to stick with you and help you stick to your goals. Like if you say, okay, I need to make this much inventory, make sure you find people that are, going to say, hey, let's help you with this instead of, go out for the weekend or something like that. And I think that's been really helpful for me in getting my idea across to a lot of different people, and building those relationships is also really important for the success of a startup business, because you have to know that you're not going to be showing profit right away, and that can get really tough. Especially when you're in college and you're paying a lot of money for that. So it's hard not to see a return right away. But I think it's really important to just know that that support system is going to be there for you to help you through that.
Good.
I'm curious to know how much you're selling your lip balm for, because I have like this Burst Beast chapstick, and it's like $3 to $4.
Right. Yep. So when I'm in person or online, I encourage customers to buy bigger amounts just because I lose lip balm all the time. I put it in everything. I put it in my car, my purse, my backpack. So I figured that was easier. So there's different prices for different sets. In the retail setting, it does retail for $3 because it is a kind of like the Burt's Bees, it's going to be a little bit higher end, and it is homemade. And so I know that those kind of things can be taken into account a little bit more, but I also don't want it to be super expensive, like I said, because people are paying a lot of money for other things. So I want it to be affordable and still show that it is a good quality product.
Marlo.
So what differentiates you from other lip balms out there, and then what is your wholesale price as well, and how many do we have to buy at a time to get wholesale?
Awesome. So the wholesale prices, I have a list. I don't have them memorized yet, just because I've only dealt with that once. But what's the first part of this question? Right.
How do you
Sorry. So something that I would say about mine is the issue that I found with all of the lip balms when I was on Accutane is they tend to dry your lips out a little bit more, so that you buy more, you apply more. And my goal isn't to make a ton of money off of this lip balm, it's to solve a problem. So I'm not concerned about, are they going to just keep buying it? I want it to solve the problem that they currently have. So my lip balm is made for a really long wear, and I think that really sets it apart, and the texture is going to be smoother and silkier as opposed to the kind of dry or waxy kind of lip balms that I found when I was experimenting.
And I would say lack of medicated stuff like.
Correct. It's a very
Carmex.
simple, it's a very simple recipe. It's not something that's going to irritate or cause concern because you don't know what's in it. It's something, if it's going to be around your mouth, you want it to be products that you can say, ingredients that you can pronounce. So
you'll cut Marlo a deal because he's looking for. No, I'm just teasing. But it is good. Everybody does.
especially in the dry Midwest. Yeah, the cold weather.
So you have been saying that you want to keep your product affordable so that more people can have access to it. Do you have any strategies, especially as a startup company, to keep your costs low enough for it to still be an effective product for you as well as for the customer?
Awesome. Yeah. So I think one of the things to help with that is keeping my time and being efficient, finding those products to help my process be more efficient because time is money. And so as long as I can keep the process simple and precise, I think that's really going to help cut down on, excuse me, cut down on costs. And I also plan to produce all of it still myself, which will cut down on looking at other, looking into other people and stuff like that.
I think the other thing that we've talked about when she's come into the office is that it's important for you to be able to get to the point where you scale up so you can buy in bulk, right? Every time that you buy a smaller amount of, okay, I'm going to produce 100 containers, you buy 100 containers because that's what you can afford, and then you make those and hopefully you can sell those. So to get to the point where we can scale up, where you can then purchase in bulk 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 of those containers, then create different things and use a weekend or a week to continue to make the product. And I think that scaling up will help because now as she starts getting into more and more stores, as more and more online orders come in, she'll have that ability to meet that with the, not holding on to too much inventory, but kind of keeping it fresh. That was one thing I was going to ask too, was the shelf life of this. I don't know what shelf life of normal chapstick is or lip balm is. What do you see, or have you done any types of studies to understand when will this break down? When will somebody have to purchase it, even if you're just doing it for the longevity of type thing? Is there any type of research that you're doing for that?
I am researching, and with the ingredients that I have, I look at the shelf life of those individually, and once they are mixed with other things, I still have some from when I started Accutane in 2019. I have found no issues with it. And like I said, I will guaranteed shelf life is about 1.5 years, which I've either lost the lip balm before then or used it all. So
congratulations on starting your business.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome to have you. So can you tell us, what is Ola Balm? Like, what's the name? Where does that come from?
awesome, yeah. So Ola Balms. Ola is oil in Irish. I am from a very, very strong Irish family, and it took me so long to come up with a name. Irish and Gaelic are very pretty, and so I have Ola, and one of my flavors is Crelar, which means essence, so I am trying to keep that in there as much as I can. I want to be true to who I am and really stick to my instincts, so.
And the color and everything was
Yes,
very Irish.
very Irish, very green, yes.
We have St. Patrick's coming up here, and you'll be in all the bars, and no, you won't be in all the bars. We'll be in all the bars for you to be able to do that. Go ahead.
Can you speak to, you said it was a major accomplishment for you to get on with Pride of Dakota. Can you talk about that process and what it's done for you?
Yeah, so it happened really quick. I was at a vendor show in the Gateway Mall. I had someone from a Pride of Dakota store come up to me and say, hey, we want to carry your product. And I was like, oh, I'm not a member yet. I've been looking at it. So that kind of kicked me into, okay, I need to get this done now instead of something in the future. So I went through, it was a really quick process. It's online. They processed the application in a very timely manner. And that, I think, has helped create a little bit of confidence for the customers, because Pride of Dakota kind of has themselves established, and when you buy a Pride of Dakota product, you expect it to be good quality. And so I think that has provided a little bit more solid customer base. And like I said, those shows that I'm hoping to get into, those are a little bit more exclusive for those members, and there's going to be really good foot traffic. So I'm excited to get into those. And I think that they also have a lot of resources. I get a lot of emails about, different things and tips and seminars and stuff like that. So it's been a really good way to grow.
Excellent. The tougher questions come in the front row, so Evan.
Be ready. Thank you for being here, Catherine.
Thank you.
I guess when I look at your product, and it probably doesn't feel this way, but in some ways you're very fortunate. You've got a very, very narrow and specific target market. And that makes things a lot easier in some ways. So I'm just thinking of ways that you can somehow attach yourself to the users of Accutane to where, you know, whether it's through a pharmacy, whether it's hashtag Accutane, whether it's maybe the manufacturer of that particular medication, they're certainly aware that these side effects exist. Now, whether or not this is an admission of that to somehow work with you on that. But I guess I just wanted to throw that out there that as someone that's worked with a lot of different products in a lot of different arenas, you do have kind of an advantage there. And so I like that you really are keeping that narrow focus, not saying, hey, everybody uses lip balm, let's just sell it to everybody. And that might come later, but I think if you can make this product as effective as you can for that particular group and then find a way to just drill into that group, I think you're going to find your journey a lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her about this, but I always tell people, when you start a business, start with your exit plan. And they're like, I'm just starting a business. Why should I think of the exit plan? The exit plan would be Accutane comes to her and says, just like Dot's Pretzels, we're going to give you $1 billion and we want to take this over. And then you can stay on. And so that's her exit strategy, or at least what I'm working on for is the association with Accutane to say, look, this product was designed for it and specifically made for it. We'd like to partner in some way with you. You never know. You never know what happens. They can just tell you no, not interested. Or you're just from North Dakota. It's not going to happen.
Oh, and just on your short list of pharmacies to reach out to, we just happened to know that Terry's on Main had just reached out to Pride of Dakota looking for local products to feature in their store. So you may want to stop there first.
Perfect. Thank you.
See, this is why we come to 1 Million Cups, because we have so much rich information that can be passed along and so much wisdom that can be imparted. Hashtag 1MCND if you want to be on the Twitter. Anything from the Twitter today that we have? Yes, I call it the Twitter, Jackson. So.
Hello, I just wanted to follow up on something that stood out to me. You noted the importance of doing your market research, and you talked about the process of sort of trying and experimenting with different options, different formulations. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that, as well as kind of going forward, if you're doing anything to protect your product as far as legal protections, patents, or any copywriting stuff like that too. So anything you could share in those areas would be great. Thanks.
Yeah. So I did a lot of looking for current patents to make sure that nothing that I was using in my products would violate any kind of legal things there. Currently, all I have is a trademark in North Dakota for my business name. I have plans to look at liability insurance and stuff like that. I have not gotten to that point yet. That is on my list of things. And when it came to experimenting, honestly, it was a very fortunate trial and error. It happened to just kind of work relatively quickly with the products that I was using, and I settled on a fairly good recipe, and I've been able to stick with that. It didn't take too long. I had my original one, the problems were it melted too quickly, and so I added like beeswax that helps kind of keep it a little bit more firm. It's not going to melt in your pocket right away. So just things like that were added when I started looking into producing it. And yeah, I definitely want to get into looking at a little bit more on the legal side of things.
Yeah, I kind of have a question. So at the, from start to finish, from when you first had the idea of calling your mom and being like, I have no idea what to do, I have this idea, I want to get it done, to selling your first unit of your product, can you give us a little bit of a timeline of the steps you went through right away in the process to through when you were done with experiments and selling your first unit?
Yeah, so I called my mom. I had no idea what to do. Both my parents are teachers. They aren't super familiar with the business world, so they were like, oh, I don't know, you should maybe ask your professors. I'm very glad that my mom suggested that because they have a lot of knowledge that they really want to share. So I went through with that, talked to them, because I had already been making stuff for myself, so that made it a little bit easier to get into production. At that point, it was figuring out labels, and that was probably the toughest part, trying to figure out how to make and produce a large number of labels and figuring out printing and stuff. So I would say from that call to actual sales, probably, I want to say at least 3 weeks. Yeah, but I think it really helped, like I said, the really strong support system and the energy that I had built up for it. And it helped that I was really passionate about it, and so were the people that I reached out to for that advice. And like I said, even just my friends were super helpful in making sure that they could do the little things. Like my best friend started writing the labels. She has really neat handwriting, and so before I was able to print the labels, they were all handmade. So little things like that really went a long way. And then the website was pretty quick. Like I said, I used Square, which is really helpful for payments and stuff, not great for customization. I'm still working on that, but it's a really great way to get it out there pretty quickly and efficiently. So I would say comfortably, maybe like 2 months into it, I was comfortable with where I was, and the printed labels, I think, really helped with that finishing touch with that.
What do you think the most surprising lesson has been that you've learned so far on this journey?
I think the most surprising thing, which doesn't sound like it should be surprising, but people want to help. And I think that we kind of grow up not knowing, you know, you feel bad asking for help, or maybe that's just because you're from the Midwest. But it's really surprising how much people want to help you and how valuable that is. Because, like I said, a lot of my information, I had no idea anything about starting a business, and reached out to a couple of my professors, Carl being one of them, and we just kind of built that foundation, and I just ran with it from there. But yeah, people really do want to help, so if you have an idea, get it out there.
Have you looked into using Shopify at all? I know sometimes that has a little bit more options for customization than Square.
I haven't looked at too many other websites. I know that if I want to open up on Facebook, I do have to, Shopify I think is one of them. So I do want to look into something like that. But I went with Square because I was familiar with Weebly, and they were bought out by Square. So I was used to a little bit more customization availability on Weebly. But even still, I think that the fact that all like card payments are kind of done through Square and events and stuff, it makes it really easy to use Square. So I just have to look at like differences and stuff like that, and the percentages that are kept for stuff. But because I went with Square because it had a really low percentage of what they take of transactions, as opposed to like Etsy, they have a very high percentage that they take from the sales. So
Yeah. I'd look into Shopify. They're just as easy to use
Okay.
at vendor shows.
Okay.
They have a couple different apps. They have an app for like a POS system at a vendor show, and then they also have the website as well. And you might find that the fees and everything are similar. I haven't done a lot of research on
Okay.
Square, and it's super user friendly with a lot more customization, I think.
perfect. I'll definitely look into that.
So you mentioned one of your challenges is being a student, internship, and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a benefit because you're in class right now, which is a marketing research class. And tell us a little bit about what they're doing with your product.
Yeah, so actually I had my first night of class for that last night, and we are doing a Shark Tank project. So most groups have to think of this made-up business and see if these investors would invest. We thankfully get to use my business, and so it's going to be a lot of free research done for my business. And it'll be really nice for our class, too, because we have something concrete that we can go off of and build from. But I'm very excited to look into that, and we're going to do more polls and surveys. I have a survey on my website now to try to get a backing for people who are on medications and stuff. I want to know that so that I can market myself as someone, recommended by Accutane users, and that's how I went about that to start off. But yeah, I'm very excited for the class. I have another class who wants to do some advertising stuff with my business, so I'm very lucky to be at the University of Mary with the professors that we have and their flexibility to work with things and how encouraging and supportive they are.
Mandy, are you making your way to, oh, I thought you were making your way to, okay, not a problem. Any other questions? Hashtag 1MCND. Any other questions, Mandy, just raise your hand and she'll get there. Catherine, I think you're graduating next year, correct?
This coming December.
Oh, in December,
Yep.
okay. Do you plan on like using this as kind of a side gig, something that supplements, or do you see this as something that you can start doing full-time and really going in and getting involved?
My goal is, to be full-time with it. I know that right now I don't have the time for that, so it is on the side a little bit more. And even just when the summer hits, I'm going to be putting a lot more time and energy into it and trying to get into a lot more shows, and I'll have time to make the inventory and stuff. And my internship, hopefully, will get hired full-time there, and they've been super supportive with my business too, which is really helpful. They are 100% with me on it, and I know that they're going to be flexible with that, and it helps keep me confident that I know if that is something that does take off, I will feel comfortable making that full-time.
So one of the things too, we've got a lot of young people in the audiences and young at age. If you come here, that's why you're here is because you're feeling younger at age with this. What would your advice be to them? You kind of just went out there and did it. What would you tell them if they're sitting there with this concept in their brain? What would you tell them? Your advice to them as a young college student?
Honestly, I would just say talk about it. Bounce it off of people and try to get it out there. See if it's something you can do the research. Just go for it. Like, I honestly had no idea. I talked to some people. Once I talked to them, I felt obligated to keep it going. I couldn't just sit there with it. So that helps kind of keep you accountable too. But if you're passionate about it, I think it makes sense to find what you love, and that passion will drive it. And find that support system. Talk to people who know a little bit about maybe what you're doing. See what it would look like, and then make it happen.
And don't be afraid to talk about, because everybody's, they're going to steal my idea. Did you ever have that idea? Somebody's going to steal this from
No.
me?
No, everyone, it's amazing. Like I said, one of the most surprising things, it's amazing how much people want to help you. And so don't feel bad about reaching out. Those people are in your life for a reason, and they will likely be very happy to help you achieve your goals.
Catherine, you are a rock star. I'm very impressed
Thank
with
you.
you. I just wanted to say that. So I spent a lot of time at the University of North Dakota, college and law school, and I value academics probably more than anything. And I'm thinking of a specific friend right now who's got this entrepreneurial bug all the time. I think he started a lawn mowing business at 16. He has been incredibly successful. So we go back and forth about the importance of, college and universities and education. So kind of tell me about that balance for you. Clearly you've learned at the school, you've mentioned that a few times, but there was a point where you called your mom and you just had to get to work. Tell me about that balance as an entrepreneur of your education and what you've learned and what you're kind of learning along the way.
Yeah. So I definitely would not be here without the classes that I've taken at UMary. And the best part about the campus that has prepared me for this is all of the real life scenarios we go through and classes and stuff. It's not just out of a textbook. And I think that that's really helped prepare me for knowing, I'm not going to be making a profit right away. That's kind of tough to go into, especially as a college student, when you don't really have a lot of money to just put into something. So it was really helpful knowing that, and I've taken stuff like business cards. I put a lot of work in my business cards. I learned through a lot of my classes those are really important. It's a small thing, but they can be really important. And I've learned a lot about what you have to look for and like those research things, and also I've learned a lot about my own personality in a lot of my classes, and that helps me know if I will be able to do this and what the balance, because because I know I'm not a person who can have their schedule completely packed. So I know I have to work with that time management a little bit more. But the classes that I'm taking right now with for my management web design, that's helpful to know for my website, and the research classes I'm taking, and I'm learning more about marketing tactics and where my money would be best spent for advertising, and I think that that's been really helpful. And like I said, the classes that I will be taking, it'll be nice that we'll be looking into my business and just kind of looking at those. I'm looking for perspectives because I don't see everything, and knowing how other people perceive what I do is going to be really helpful too, I think.
Other questions? What time are we getting to be? I didn't bring my watch with me. Oh, okay, we got plenty of time then. You know, one of the other things, just to piggyback off of that, I think one of the best things is the connection. And I always tell students, get to know your peers, because you never know who this next person might be. Who is the dots who's making these great, what a friend of mine called me from Texas and said, this crack-addicted product that you're bringing in from North Dakota, right? You never know who that person might be who is creating that product that they're going to go on, and that's not the reason that you develop friendships and relationships, but you can say, I was in school when I went to 1 Million Cups and I heard about this when she starts making it big and things like that. So I think the connections that you make, and particularly like you said, to be able to just stop in to the office and just hash around any type of concerns that you might have or some type of questions that you might have, I think that there's a convenience that goes along with that you probably wouldn't have if you wouldn't have had that direct connection. And then your significant other, of course, you know, I mean, you meet this incredible individual, you know. So I mean, all of those good things are I just love Jackson, so that's the reason that I bring that up. Hashtag 1MCND. We don't have anything on the Twitter today. I'm just really, or aren't we doing that anymore? Oh, okay. And we'll get to this kind of at the end, but I think one of the things that, from your standpoint, is we always talk about you don't know what you don't know. What, in your mind, do you see as being one of those things out there that an unknown that you really haven't thought too much of, but you've seen in other businesses or whatever, and say, I wonder if that could happen to me? Have you had those nightmares yet? And is what I'm asking.
I don't think so. A lot of things I have wondered about is for my next form of marketing, I've been looking at like influencers because a lot of the people who are going to be on Accutane is that younger generation who's going to be heavily into social media. And so I'm looking at that. I haven't figured out quite how to do that. I don't really know how I want to get into that, and it's finding the right people that I want to find to support my brand. Because I want to be very true to my brand, and I don't want it to just be, you know, I want the people who are going to promote it to buy into my mission. So I think that's very important. So I think that's going to be a little bit harder to start looking for those. But I think that's probably the thing I don't really know a lot about, but I want to do it. I just don't really know how yet.
Okay.
All right. This may be a bit premature where you're at, but as you start thinking maybe once you graduate and if you want this to be your full-time thing, are you envisioning your growth being something that you can self-fund, kind of bootstrap your way to it? Or are you thinking that you may need some form of financing in the future? And have you thought about like different sources for that? Oh, and by the way, the application for the Mandan Pitch Challenge ends tomorrow. So just a thought.
Okay. Yeah, so I have definitely looked into that. I would like to think I'd be able to support it all on my own, but I definitely am looking at different grants and stuff like that and trying to figure out how I can get into some of that, just because I am paying college tuition and stuff like that. It does get a little bit tight, so I am definitely looking into that. I should probably look into it a little bit more heavily, especially if it will be, you know, more full-time. So right now I'm like, okay, it'll be fine, but when I start getting a little bit bigger, I definitely will need to look into that more.
Excellent. Mandy, why don't you throw out our last question that we always ask everybody who gets up here on this stage.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations and thank you so much for sharing. We wish you much success. And what we always like to ask here at the 1 Million Cups community is how can our community help you succeed from this point on?
Awesome. So I guess looking for those solid connections and the ideas about where to go next, because like I said, I'm very new to the whole owning a business thing. So those connections and the funding and stuff like that, just so that I can get to be those spots where I can buy in bulk and start saving money on stuff like that in the office and the kitchen and stuff like that. So a lot of those ideas and connections really help with those like connections on how to get to those positions, and if you know anyone in those fields, it's really nice. Like how you guys mentioned the pharmacy and stuff like that, that really helps.
Excellent. Let's give it up for Katherine one more time. And next week, we will be here, 9 a.m. You be here too. Thank you very much. God bless.